Hello, welcome everybody tonight to the Simple Plays. My name is Brian Newdall. I am playing backup quarterback tonight since Mr. Sid Thompson has a previous engagement. We have a great guest tonight. We have the greatest special teams coach of all time, Mr. Mike Westhoff. We also have a Ohio State superfan coming up in our Where's Will segment, Robert D. Cobb. So we should have a good show tonight. Now to my mentor, Mr. Rev, Mr. Kevin Ryherd. Go ahead with the intros.
Thanks, Brian. Want to welcome you all to the Simple Plays, and certainly want to welcome our special guest, Mike Westhoff, and our super fan who will be in the Where's Will segment from Ohio State. But tonight, first want to kick off the introductions of our pro hosts. He's won a World Bowl, a Super Bowl, and he's straight out of West Haven, Connecticut. Ulish Booker, 10-year NFL veteran. He's been on more teams than you got fingers and started all of them. He's straight out of Jeff City, Missouri, Steve Martin. Our Blake Daniels tonight is Brian Newdall, the brain. We want to make sure that he's comfortable in the quarterback chair. Our Buffalo Bill, straight out of Lotion, is gone tonight. That's our Sid Thompson, the captain to our crunch, our little lucky charm. We're hoping he's having a good time wherever he's at. Everything you see, everything you hear, everything that's about Simple Plays is brought to you by Bison Graphics. And least but not last, I want to welcome you to the Simple Plays. I'm the Rev. Hey, guys, take it away. It's going to be a great show tonight.
All right. First, we're going to go to what's kind of been happening in sports lately. I guess first we're going to start with the Stanley Cup. And Colorado won their third Stanley Cup over Tampa Bay here the other night. And, that's something that I'm sure Colorado has definitely been looking forward to it's been a while. So, guys, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Tampa Bay and Colorado for the Stanley Cup. Whatever happened to, like, the New York Islanders versus the Edmonton Oilers? You remember when that stuff used to happen? It's almost like when the Baltimore Stallions in, like, the late 1980s won the Grey Cup in the CFL. I don't know if Americans appreciate the Grey Cup or the Stanley Cup, if you will, more than Canadians do. So I always tip my hat to the Canadians of the Stanley Cup. I think it's theirs.
Hey,
kind of like the Party Trophy's ours. I don't know. You guys tell me.
Hey, I had a chance. I was in Canada for a little while. I was up there when they had the lockout. And,
yeah.
Man, listen, it was different. And then, the starting tackle for the team that I was on, he started out playing hockey, and he's 6'6", 325, and they said he could put a pair of skates on, and I'm all I can think about is my toes and my feet with those little skinny blades trying to balance all this weight. So I take my hat off to guys being able to not only play the game, but to excel and make it to that level of sportsmanship as it pertains to professional hockey. But I gotta say, Ottawa has the best bagels in the store.
Very nice.
I played hockey growing up, so I get it. It's tough. It's tough in the Stanley Cup. That's a tough run. You got to go undefeated. 8 games, 9 games? But that ain't easy. It's tough. It's tough. So hats off to them. What are they doing out in Tampa to have a good hockey team?
Steve Yzerman.
Right.
Yeah, just to be in the competition, that's amazing. So congratulations, folks in Colorado. I'm sure they're happy as hell right now.
Hats off to the Avalanche on a great season, as well as the Lightning.
Absolutely. And I think Sid would be definitely mad if I didn't bring up the College World Series. I know he's been really following that. And we want to say congratulations to the national champions, the Ole Miss Rebels. They defeated Oklahoma for their first national championship.
That hurt.
SEC.
Absolutely. And then And then going into the NFL, we also had a big signing with Scary Terry McLaurin signing a 3-year, $71 million deal to stay in Washington.
Scary Terry, let me hold on to 20,000. Come on, holler at your boy. 20,000.
Walking around money.
Yeah, there's the average of 23.3 million. He's right in the middle of the pack in terms of average per year.
How much of that is Uncle Sam's?
Oh my gosh.
13.15.
Right. Boy, those salaries have definitely jumped up recently. Oh my gosh.
Boy,
But,
on the left side of that page, it would say Spartan Global LLC.
Right.
Trust or family trust.
So the real question is with the big names set to come up, Justin Jefferson of the Vikings, it won't be long before Jamar Chase.
Right.
What are they going to get? Is it going to be above Tyreek Hill? Is it going to be above Terry McLaurin?
If Jamar Chase keeps playing, he's gonna be the highest paid receiver ever. That kid is unbelievable.
You think he's gonna settle over Tyreek, huh?
Oh yeah.
I think he'll get over Tyreek.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
He's
not taking nothing from the Chief.
A lot of cheddar for a wideout. It's a lot of cheddar for a wideout.
He does a lot for his team, man. He damn near beat the Rams by himself.
Yeah,
dude, he caught 2 over the shoulder back, no seat passes. I mean, that's amazing. In the same game, the kid's amazing.
Hey, Steve, he one of those dudes that a player like, yo, man, that dude was born somewhere else. He ain't from where we from. He from somewhere else.
I tell you, I look at him, I'm like, we don't want no parts of that cat.
Yeah,
man. You know what? You ain't mad. It's like you mad he ain't on your team. You like, ooh, that dude's cold. And there ain't nothing you can do about him.
Yeah.
Right. He's terrifying. I hate that he ain't on the team I like.
Hey, the best shot you got is go hire you a Vontaze Burfict. The best shot you got.
Beat him up in the hallway.
That's it.
You get the tunnel, you get a couple goons out there to beat him up before he goes out and plays.
That's it.
He's the kind of guy who's going to do better after he gets his butt whooped. Who knows? I don't want no part of him.
All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to take a break here, and then we're going to bring in our guest, Mr. Mike Westhoff.
Looking forward to it.
Spartan Global Network, a platform that will provide various types of useful lifestyle products and services that will help people in need. Spartan Global Network, in conjunction with Affinity Consumer Alliance, presents an online subscription-based platform that's bundle-inclusive, based on level selection. Spartan Global Network provides access to unique insurance coverages for you and your family. Mobile phone breaks down? Our mobile rescue plan covers more than 15 common repairs and even water damage maintenance. Car broke down while on the road? We offer 24-hour roadside assistance to make sure that you are safe and covered in the event of an emergency while on the road. Going for travel? We are able to offer our members discounts on flights, hotels, rental cars, vacation packages, cruises, and more. So, what are you waiting for? Visit our website for more info at SpartanGlobalNetwork.com.
Now, I'd like to welcome to the show Mr. Mike Westhoff, the greatest special teams coach of all time. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great, thanks, guys. It's fun to be on with you, so it's interesting. I got a kick listening to you, kick out of it. So we'll see. But I'm happy. I'm happy to be here with you. So fire away.
Sure. We're glad to have you, Coach. It's certainly it's always a joy to get another like-minded on the podcast. And really, what we want to do tonight is pick your brain a little bit, talk about the book you just wrote, and more importantly, if you have some stories that you'd like to lay on us that maybe you haven't told any other podcast, we like some of that cutting-edge stuff here on the Simple Playz. So, we're all ears when it comes to what's going on in the land of Coach Mike Westhoff. But certainly let's just lead off with the years of the National Football League. Do they blend together, or do they all stick out for some apparent reason? Which is what guys do, is kind of put a hat on a nail and say, I remember this season because of this thing or this circumstance.
No, it's an interesting question. I can separate it very easily. I can go through my 32-year career and pick out various parts and identify with what happened at those times, because it was so varied. I started as a young guy, 33 years old, with Frank Cush at the Baltimore Colts. You know, I was part of the midnight move. You know, when we moved from Baltimore to Indianapolis, I was part of that. I wrote about that. You know, I was also on that staff. I told a little story about it. If that had been up to our coaching staff in 1983, the Baltimore Colts would have drafted Dan Marino. That's who we wanted, and we were adamant.
Really?
See, we coached them in the Senior Bowl, and we loved them. And John Elway didn't want to come, and so we didn't care. We let him go.
Right.
So that would have been interesting how that developed, and then how it ended. And then I went with the Miami Dolphins for all those years and coached Don Shula and Dan Marino. Now that was a tremendous experience. Obviously a little difficult, and running into those Buffalo Bills that kept knocking us out of it. And they had a very good football team. And then my years with the Jets. And when I was with the Jets, especially my first 10 years, we were in the playoffs 60% of the time. Yeah. We went to 2 AFC championship games. I loved New York. I loved the fans. I loved the people. And I'm disappointed we couldn't have gone quite to the next level. But we were a good football team. We weren't the team you wanted to play, because we weren't sexy, but we could knock the hell out of you. And that was my kind of football team. I loved it.
Very nice. So, Coach, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. Go ahead, Steve.
No, I was just going to reflect on the year I was there. In 2001, that was 9/11. That was a tough year. But, yeah, I remember just thinking, I think it was when Santana ran one of the plays back, I think I turned to you and said, you're not really working, are you? Because we had Santana Moss. We got away with a lot. So, yeah.
he was pretty special. He was pretty special.
He was
Remember, he was a very, very talented individual, great guy. I loved him. I got very much involved in drafting him because my Miami connection. So, I was very happy to be able to stand up and talk about taking this young man with our first pick in the draft. And he was really a good football player. We had a talented football team. We were, the Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells kind of know how to put a team together. Now they're going to peak it so that you can't keep them forever, salary cap wise, and we ran into that problem. But we had a good ball club. We had a lot of good football players. On offense, you had Kevin Mawai is a pro Hall of Fame offensive lineman, and we had Curtis Martin carrying the ball. So those are pretty good players. We could play. We were a good football team, and it was a lot of fun to be a part of. And I loved it. I had an all-star team, so I was really having fun.
Yeah, you weren't working at all. You was just hanging out, especially the first team.
I don't know about hanging out now. I'm not sure about that.
yeah, I'm just busting
a little bit. You could bet on that. I'll show you my scouting report. You will see what I would. I worked my butt off. But it was fun. I mean, I loved them. We had a good group, and it was really fun to be a part of. We were tough. I had tough guys. I had guys that it meant a lot to, and we contributed. It was at a time where special teams was so different, and you could make a viable difference. So that's a little tougher to do today.
Mike, when you talk about tough guys, would you mind name dropping a couple of those tough guys that, maybe, a little undersized? When I start thinking about guys like that, I think like the Wayne Kravetts and some of those guys. But certainly, Coach, would love to hear.
Yeah, sure. Obviously, those are kind of guys that you would go in that direction. But I'll look at guys that I had.
Yeah.
I had a guy that came out of nowhere, Bernie Parmalee. He was loading trucks at UPS. Right. I signed him. There's a tremendous story. You're going to have to get the book now to read the whole story. That's how it's going to work. But we cut him. The Miami Dolphins cut him. We released him. I made him come back to practice the next morning. Snuck him in there. I told him to keep your helmet on, hide in the back. I said, Coach Shula, he's up talking to Marino. He won't even know you're back there. I said, but that first period is mine, and you better play like you've never played. I called a live punt at the end of the period. I told Reggie Roby, I said, Reggie, blast it down the middle for me. I want to see what happens.
Yeah.
Bernie Parmalee hit this kid. You thought it was a train accident. Hit him so hard. And I'm screaming, yelling. That's what I'm talking about. And Coach Shula looked at me. I can't tell you what he said.
You're right.
But he scared me to death. What are you doing? Da, 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 da. Make a long story short, we found a way to put him on the practice squad. We gave him an opportunity. He had a chance that year. Make a long story short, he played 9 years in the National Football League. I'll take that any day. That's the thing I'm the most proud of. That's what counts. And I was able to do that. Though Bernie, he's as tough as it comes. He hit Rocket Ishmael out in Oakland. He's still, his parts of him still laying out there somewhere. He's somewhere. They're trying to scrape him up. I mean, he hit him so hard. Though, Larry Izzo was a really tough guy. I had a kid named Kenyatta Wright that played for me in New York. I mean, he'd knock your head off. I mean, he was really a good football player. Eric Smith was a tough guy. James Hidebo. When he would trap you, forget it. That's why they changed the rule. They changed the rules because of that stuff. We'd run kickoff return. It looked like an off-tackle play. We'd have a double team and a trap. Well, James Hidebo trapped you, forget it. You're waking up on the bench. I mean, and it was clean. It was up front. It wasn't dirty. It wasn't below the knees. It wasn't above the shoulders. And it was just good, hard football. Yeah. And I'm very proud of that. And those are the kind of guys I loved. I didn't care. There's an interesting story as to how I developed that philosophy. You'll have to read it. Tell you the truth, I got it. I got it from two people, Woody Hayes and Bear Bryant. And I'm going to make you read it to get it because it's happened to me serendipitously, very accidentally, and I carried it with me my entire career. And so I would take a chance on a guy.
You're getting good, Coach, at leaving those teasers for us to go get that book. And certainly, our guy in the background, Zach, let's make sure that we get Westy's information out there for the book for everybody out there that wants to order and read it.
Okay. It comes on, it's out July 12th. It comes out everywhere. The book's titled Figure It Out. It'll be Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere. Figure it out. You can order it anyhow. There's an audio book that's out. I actually spent 3 weeks recording it. You can get it on an iCopy to watch on an iPad. But then right now, you can order through the publisher. The publisher is Mascot Books. Then you put in the title, and they'll deliver it right to your house. So it's really pretty simple. I've done very well, but it's a good story about good guys. At a point in time when that part of the game started from nowhere when I started it and went to a pinnacle. And it has now, dwindled way down to it just don't have as many plays as they used to have. So there aren't as many variables, and that is something that is different. But I was happy to write it. I spent 2.5 years. I love the fact that we interviewed. I had a guy help me, but I wrote every word. He conducted the interviews. Sure. And then we did it. So you're going to hear me tell the story, and then you're going to hear Leon Washington tell it. And I think that gives it some credibility. And I'm very happy that I did it that way.
Coach, how did you come up with the name of the book? Did you have a couple of different names?
No, it was something that I had all the way along. That's something that I talked a lot about my whole life, was just trying to figure it out. I wasn't given anything. I didn't have any easy road. I grew up in a row house in the city of Pittsburgh. I had one way to get to college. I had to find a way to get a football scholarship. I did. I was a good player. I wasn't a great player, but I had played, and I had a good college career. And then I was going to continue. I went to graduate school at Indiana University. I worked for Lee Corso, and I got my master's degree in psychology. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed figuring it out, and that's what I did. And that's what I expected players to do. We don't have all the answers. Sometimes you guys have played, how sometimes you get out on that field, and all of a sudden it sounds great. That coach is telling you, somebody smacks you in the face. That's a little different deal. Wait a minute now. We better have a talk here, brother. And then you got to figure it out. And that's what I believed in. And that's the title. That's the essence of the title.
I saw that was that year in New York. It felt like it was just figure it out any way we could, because we had to find ways to win. And I just remember coming in. I got there week 1, and we're playing the Colts. And they were making the calls. I'm still having calls in my head from Indy. So the linebackers called fire, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's going to be the same stunt I ran in Indy. Wrong. It was the wrong thing, and it held for 3 weeks. We struggled like crazy, and then somehow, some way, we went on a winning streak. I think we won 9 games.
Oh, remember, 9/11 came along, and I wrote about this, but the New York Jets are the reason when 9/11 that they canceled that first game. That was the Jets that were responsible for that, and that was something that America needed. We needed a timeout. We didn't need to play that week. We needed a timeout, and the Jets were very much involved in that decision-making process, and that gave us a chance. They postponed that game, remember, to the end of the year. That game, and then we went up and played New England that next week, and that's when Mo Lewis, our linebacker, drilled Drew Bledsoe and really hurt him. Gave him had a chest injury. Actually, he was bleeding internally. And then they bring in this little skinny kid named Tom Brady, and he looked pretty good. We won that game. We won that football game. But they were, they came on and came to life, and then they ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. And we got in the playoffs also and went on a win streak ourselves. And it was quite a crazy year. But that team was just a good team. That team had a lot of good football players. It was just a matter of putting it together. There was a lot of good players on that football team.
That was the most amazing play because I saw that play. That's me at the right tackle, right defensive tackle. I'm rushing 91, and I get pushed in the back, and I see him just hit him. And I swear to God, that guy sold out, and his body caught up. And the ref was counting 1, 2, 3 because he was weak. That was the hardest hit I've ever seen.
And Mo Lewis,
goal catchers.
Don't highlight that.
And
Mo Lewis the back. Nobody's going to say
that. Mo Lewis was a big, powerful man. When Mo was a big guy. University of Georgia guy. When he hit you, now you knew it. And it was a good, clean, hard shot, and it just to put him out, and then they changed everything. They brought Tom Brady in, and and changed their football team. But they should erect a statue up there to Mo Lewis because they weren't going to make the move. They weren't going to make the move. They weren't going to make it. It was just they believed in Bledsoe. He was their guy, and they would have struggled with him. And they changed their offense, and the rest is. But at the beginning of when they really got started, the New England Patriots, the reason they got their things going was because how good they were on defense. That's where they got that. They were loaded on defense. I mean, they had an all-star team over there, and that gave Brady time to develop and move along because that's where the Patriots were really so very good in those early days. They were a heck of a defensive team.
And nobody knew Brady. That was the other thing. We all knew Bledsoe, and that I remember the meeting with Ted Cottrell. He was saying, "Look, we know Bledsoe's going to stare down his one receiver on third down. We knew it. We rolled cover 4 or cover 3 to that side so we could look like we were double teaming, but we weren't. And we wanted him to roll out. We had ran that stunt with Rick Lyle coming and flushing him out the back, and Mo was in the flat with nobody around him. And because Bledsoe stares at his receiver, he was staring at his receiver the whole time. He didn't see Mo sitting in the flat. The guy scored
Teddy, you mentioned,
coming on railroad track.
You mentioned Teddy Cottrell. Teddy was a good coach. Teddy Cottrell was a good football
Teddy.
coach.
He's great.
Good friend of mine, and I was very, very upset when Herman let him go. I thought that was really the dumbest thing you could do. I like Teddy a lot. He was not only a good man, he was really a good coach and a good friend.
I got to tell you, let me throw this out there because this was a memorable moment in my career. Ted got up there, was it week 4 or 5, and he flat out said, "Hey, Vinny's going to throw 2 a game. Get used to it. He's going to throw 2 picks a game. Get used to it." And everybody's like, "What the hell?" And then Herm heard it. He came in there. He said, "Get out!" He pulled Teddy off the podium, and they went in there and they went to Herm, and we could hear him yelling because he slammed the door, but it didn't shut. And we could hear him cussing him out. I was like, "Don't tell the guys that." He said, "Well, it's the truth. Everybody knows that Vinny's going to throw 2. And sure as not, we go out. I think we were playing the Chiefs, and Aaron Glenn, I'll never forget, and sitting there just jumping up and down, and Marcus Coleman on the other side, and offense. You guys, I think you guys had just turned over on a punt return or something, and anyway, Vinny goes out, red zone, first play, interception, and we're sitting there like, well, hell, Ted just told us that's what's going to happen, so let's go shut him down. And like literally, I remember that year they called us the Shreks because we were ugly as hell. We gave up like 400 yards of offense, but only one touchdown. And
I remember.
And if it wasn't for defense and special teams that year, we wouldn't have had a team. I mean, we had Curtis. Don't get me wrong. We would take nothing from Curtis.
Curtis was pretty good. We were good. It was a good football team. We had a good team, and it was fun to be a part of. I had a ball. I loved it. I had an all-star team. I mean, there was a point in time in that 1983 year where we played Oakland late in the year, and I was doing my game plan, and I put down that Santana Moss was leading the NFL in punt returns. Okay, Chad Morton was leading the NFL in kickoff returns, and Chad Morton was second in the NFL in punt returns. All for us. Well, that was first, and nobody was second. That's how good we were. It was really fun. They were great players. It was fun it was easy to design. You draw up a play for those guys, just figure it out because they could figure it out. It was a lot of fun. It was a good team. It was a lot of just very enjoyable for me.
We knew what was wrong with us. Yeah, we knew what was wrong with us, and all we had to do was work it. And that's when that debate on Chad Pennington started over Vinny. I remember that. That was a heck of a thing. But we found ways to win. It was not none of the wins came easy. They were not pretty, but damn it, we won. And that was the amazing part about it. That was the best chemistry. That was the best chemistry I think I had my whole NFL career. I got to say that. And I certainly would
one of my favorites also.
Yeah, the special teams that year, that what you guys did on special teams was admirable from that point on, because that was like, wow, the special teams is a team. Like, you look at seeing that defense, like, oh, that's that defense. That we looked at the special teams like, that's a team. Those guys there, it's like it's a badge of honor to be on that team.
That's pretty much what I tried to do. What I tried to establish.
Yeah, you did a great job.
I couldn't always get it done, but I got it done enough, and it was fun to do. It was a great challenge, and something I had a ball doing and had a ball writing about. So pretty cool.
Coach, you had a lot of personalities. You had a lot of kickers. You had a lot of putters. Did you ever have one that you just said, he's obviously got the talent, but these pregame rituals and what he does during the week, I don't know if he's going to be an NFL player. I mean, because my time on NFL sidelines was always sitting around and watching some of the kickers and the putters and the deep snappers, and they are a symbiotic unit. And at the same time, they come from vast backgrounds. And how they get to the NFL, we just had Mike Hollis on, who went to a JUCO, then did 2 years and then signed as a free agent and got his shot with the Jaguars. The rest is history. But you got to have some stories about some kickers, some putters, maybe even a punt returner or two like Bernie Parmalee. But just thought I'd add that about the kickers.
With kickers, it's a little bit, it's a little. I had a theory about those guys that I was adamant. I believed in having very good athletes. I wanted good athletes. I started with Ron Stark, and when we drafted him with the first pick of the second round in 1982, my first year in the league. And he was pretty good. Now, he went to, he played 15 years, went to 1 million Pro Bowls. And Ron was a tremendous athlete. I mean, he could do things that very few people could do. So I liked the athletic guys. I was at Miami, and I had great big Reggie Roby. I liked a big, powerful man like that. I had athletic kickers. Lindo Mari was one of the best athletes on our football team. And when I was with the New Orleans Saints, Tom Morstead was one of the strongest guys in the weight room. And he's a great punter. I mean, so I liked athletic guys. I had success with guys that were pretty athletic because I could then just help them stay consistent. I didn't want to have to change their technique. I'm not a golf coach that teaches you how to have a new swing. If you got a pretty good swing, I can tell you stay with it. If not, you're not the guy for me. So I liked athletic guys, and I had a lot of success with them. I had probably only one guy in my career that I had a difficult time with, just not very favorite. the kid, the Weatherford punter that I had with the Jets. And that was a tough time. He was a pain in the neck, to be honest with you. And I covered for him. I covered for him in meetings. I was very much, I didn't kill him with the media, which I should have done, but I just don't do that. But and then he blasted me when he left and went with the media. But that's his, he ran a couple fakes and I covered for him. He did it on his own. He screwed it up. He goofed the whole thing up. Stupid. I wanted to kill him. Cost us a game one time. It really did. And so really, and then I would get upset with him. We're playing up in New England, and for right off the game, good, perfect weather day. We got a good battle going back and forth, and we had to punt. So we get a perfect snap, perfect protection, punting the ball right where he wanted to do it. I used to like the directional. He wanted to go right. So I called a red slam, which was right. And he punts it 18 yards out of bounds. So, he comes off the field, and I was fuming, and I was all over him. And then he said, well, that's not helping me any. What's make me feel a little better? I don't know how it's helping you any. I feel a little better right now, to tell you the truth. You're making me want to throw up here. But so, I had a little issue with that guy. It was a problem that I had. But and he had some talent. He actually went to New York Giants and did a very good job. And they, people talked about that, that I didn't coach him as well. Well, you're probably right. I didn't. The Little Sisters of the Poor could have coached him better than me, but I couldn't stand him. I didn't like him. So I was a little tough on him. Don't think for an instant that we're not just real people here. We try, as long as we're fair. As long as we're fair, then I think you can be a pretty doggone good coach. But, I don't like everybody. I'm sure everybody doesn't like me. But that's okay. I'm going to work around that. And you respect one another. And that's what I think I very much did. And then also a lot of the health things that I fought through, I have a little idea. And I know NFL players have to live with playing uncomfortable and being in tough situations. That's part of the job. Well, I spent a heck of a lot of my life being pretty uncomfortable. So I know a little something about it, and I can appreciate it and respect it. And that's what I did. And I think I had a lot of success with it. And with the kickers, I wanted good athletes. I don't want a guy that was quirky or squirrely, because that just didn't work for me. So I had athletes that were good players and that they could go play golf or they jumped in a basketball game. They were good. That's who I wanted as my guys, and that's who I had.
Say, Coach, do you have any stories about Rex Ryan?
You got to buy the book, brother. I'll make you buy it. Only $20. I have some good things with Rex. One thing that you should know, please make sure you know this. I got the book already, Mike. All right, you're a good man. Some of Rex's craziness never, believe me when I'm telling you this, never manifested itself with a football team. We had a disciplined, well-organized team. We didn't have problems off the field. Rex treated people fairly. Everybody was on time. Our practices were competitive, not necessarily combative, but very competitive. And we showed that as a football team. That's who we were. So I had fun with Rex. I really enjoyed working with him. He was great to me, left me alone, left me do anything I wanted. And I have a lot of respect for him as a defensive coach. Everything else, he kind of split up, and we organized it and put together a good coaching staff and a good ball club. But Rex, I've got one tremendous story. You're going to have to, because it's long, but it's really funny dealing with Rex and something that happened to us. It can only happen in the National Football League. There's no place else where this one's going to happen. But with Rex, I had a great time with him. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was exciting because you never knew Rex was going to always do something a little crazy. But no. Our football team was a good, solid team of good people. We didn't have, come on, we got an offensive line with DeBrickashaw Ferguson, Kevin Alan Faneca, Hall of Famer, Nick Mangold, Damian Woody. Come on, those guys are good offensive linemen now. They're good. And Damian Tomlinson carrying the ball. Well, guess what? We're going to run the football, and we're going to mash you. And so Mark Sanchez was our quarterback. I know, Mark gets criticized, and I could be critical of Mark in a way, but Mark was a good quarterback for that football team. It wasn't Tom Brady. It wasn't Eli. It wasn't Peyton Manning. I know it wasn't. But he managed that team. We led the league in rushing. We were the top 3 in defense. I'm one of the top 1, 2, or 3 in special teams. And that combination could beat anybody. Did it always? No. But it could. Went to 2 championship games. Now all of a sudden we're going to become, New England Patriots South Branch. That's when I moved to Florida. I said enough. I'm going home. I didn't want to deal with it anymore.
Speaking of favorite,
go ahead.
Coach, what would you say was your favorite team of all time to coach?
That's almost impossible to answer because they were all so different. The teams with Marino were really special, but there were some things we didn't quite have. Our defense had gotten old. That thing. A couple of those New York Jet teams, that 9 and 10 team, they were very special to me. If I had to pick it, it would probably be those teams. Those 2 years I was with the New Orleans Saints, I loved, especially 2018, that year that the crazy Ram game kept us out of the Super Bowl with Drew Brees. And that was, Mike Thomas led the league, and you threw it anywhere, he caught it. And it was just fun to be a part of. Our defense got better. I had a good group of guys. Taysom Hill was a great player for me. It was fun to watch Drew Brees practice every day. Sean Payton's a great, great coach. And it was that was a fun thing to be a part. It came out of nowhere. I didn't want to go. I was working in New York. I was working for ESPN Radio, and I did SMY television. I lived in Florida, and I'd travel to New York, and I would do my shows. And all of a sudden, I get a call from the New Orleans Saints. I said, no, thanks. I don't want to go. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know one person in the building. I'd never met Sean Payton. I didn't know him. Well, next thing you know, it's Wednesday afternoon, halfway through the year, and I'm down there coaching it. I just did it. I just said, okay, I'll do it. And they made me a pretty good offer, pretty hard to turn down. But and it was just fun to do. I had a ball. I loved it. The New Orleans Saints, my opinion, best kept secret in the National Football League, that organization. Their owner, their general manager, Mickey Lomas, they're brilliant, those people. The way they take care of their players, unbelievable. You don't like it. If you're a player, you don't like it in New Orleans, you got some problems, buddy. Because they take care of people like no one I've ever seen. The only person in the United States that flies on a better plane is the president. That's it. They stay at their hotel, best hotel you can find. They take care of everybody. They do a nice job. They do. I loved it. I loved it there. And they were good. They worked hard. They were tough. It was fun to be a part of. And we should have gone to 2 Super Bowls. We should have gone those 2 years. We had that crazy play up in Minnesota, and then the non-call, against the Rams, which was a disgrace. And I didn't get to go. But and we were good. When I walked in there, they brought me in to help their special teams. When I walked in, they were ranked 31st in the NFL. When I left, we were first. So I'm pretty proud of that. I did my share of the bargain, and I loved it. And I have tremendous respect for those guys. Tremendous. They're a good organization, and they've got really good people. I met some people there that I just have the most respect for that I've ever had in my career.
As this game is changing, how much would you say that the chemistry is the element now that everybody's trying to seek? Because you're looking at these numbers are huge for every position, and you got to have that passion, that drive, what have you. But what I keep seeing over and over again is the difference maker is how the chemistry is on that team, and it shows in how they play. What would you say was that how much chemistry was a factor when you? It's an
interesting question. I'm gonna change it just a touch, but it's an interesting question. You bring up a good point. I received several phone calls this year from first-year head coaches that asked me. They said, Mike, if you were coaching today, with the way the rules are, the number of plays, how would you design your roster? That's a brilliant question, because it has to be different. And that goes, Stephen, to what you're talking about, because really good football today is fast break football. It's fast break. You've got to have the quarterback that can get it there. You've got to have receivers that can run. You've got to have an offensive line that can protect in a certain way. And on the other side, you've got to have the great corner. You need a pass rush specialist. You got to have somebody on defense that can get. So you need those. You need those key individuals. And that's what makes up the character that you're talking about. Because if you have a handful of those guys, and I think you've got to give credit to the Los Angeles Rams, because what they've done, they've taken that type of player and they've just gone out and found a way to keep those guys, to accentuate them a little bit. And all of a sudden, they just keep being a doggone good team. I just have a hard time. Just if you stop asking me who I thought could beat them right now, I don't know enough to give you a good answer. I don't know. I know there's some teams that can. I love the Buffalo Bills, and Cincinnati is pretty good. And be interested to see what Denver does now with the new quarterback. But I don't know. Those Rams still look pretty doggone good to me. But it's changed. I'll give you a statistical number to back this up. I'll do it real quick. Okay, my first 30 years in the National Football League, my first 30 years, not counting PATs and field goals. Don't count those plays. I averaged 22 plays a game. 22. Punts, kickoff, return. 22 plays. All right. My 2 years with the New Orleans Saints, 7. I went from 22 to 7. That's it. So it's changed. You can't keep all the guys like I used to keep. I had a team with the Miami Dolphins. I had Larry Izzo, Bernie Parmalee, O.J. Brigance. I had that whole gang. That was a group of a little peanut all-stars. But you can't keep all those guys today. You can't do it. The game has changed. You have to keep up with the change. You have to be smart. And that's so, when you go from 22 plays to 7 or 8, I went up and spoke to the coaches at the combine this year, special team. They had a dinner and they brought me in to talk to them. I said, guys, if you don't get on top of this and find a way to make your plays efficient and safe, an owner's going to walk into the head coach and he's going to say, why am I paying this guy $1 million when he's coaching 8 plays? I said, and you better get an answer, because that's what's going to get asked. Because when I started in 1982, there were no special teams coordinators. I helped make it that role. I'm a little cocky and I think I did it, but I at least I know I helped. And then it went to a pinnacle. Now you don't have the variables. I gave them a good example. I said the media this year talked about this year's NFL playoffs. With the notable exception of the Green Bay Packers, because it's like they never even heard of fourth down. Those guys, they were terrible. But anyway, with the notable exception of them, they made it clear that this year's playoffs were maybe the best ever in NFL history. I heard it 100 times. There wasn't one discernible kicking play in all the playoffs. Not one. Not a fake, not a block, not a big return, nothing. I said, so you're going to be part of nothing and think you're going to keep a level of job credibility where it is. You've got to get on top of it. And I wrote a whole chapter as to how they could do it a little bit. And I hope they listen. It might help a little bit. I love the variables. We're at the New York Jets. If we don't have those good special teams units, we don't get into playoffs. We don't get in. I don't care what anyone. That didn't mean we won every game. Of course not. We did not. We didn't. But we helped. And if we hadn't done it, we don't get in. And if we don't get in, then we're just a nothing team. And we weren't a nothing team. We were a good football team.
Well, that's one thing that Belichick used to talk about all the time, is that football goes in cycles. And it's a loop that comes around, but it keeps going forward. But it always comes back to what built it. And what I see right now in the very stats you're talking about is, special teams has died down because other things have become the factor, but it's a matter of time. Because what I'm seeing is that the very thing you're talking about now, you got to have these receivers that can get the ball, and you got to have the defense to be able to stop it. But what people are forgetting is that offensive line. They're not putting the time and effort and energy into the offensive line like they used to. And it's just a matter of time before, because defensive linemen, they're getting smaller and smaller. Nothing against Aaron Donald. He is the greatest defensive tackle I've ever seen play the game. But he does not fit the mold of what the traditional defense was built on when I played. So that's fine. But he is still in the same category of like a Warren Sapp kind of player. He's not all the profile stuff you want, but he's got that hot motor and he plays unbelievably hard. But I remember taking on the double team of Larry Allen and Flozell Adams, which was the most terrifying thing ever. And I remember my coach telling me, he said, "You got to stand in there and hold that up." I said, "Do you know who that is?" I said, "You ain't." When he hit me, because Larry, people don't know, Larry used to bench 700 pounds. When he punched me in my chest, I benched 500. He benched 7, and he buckled me like a little girl. So I said, "I'm not touching that man. I'm going down and taking his 2 shoes out, and that's all that's going to happen." So you got to get somebody. I'm a free agent this year. I'm not fighting that. You go get somebody that can fight that, because it's not going to be me. I'm not going to get embarrassed on national television. So I'll just say is that, as I see it, is that special teams is getting forgotten, but the team that stays focused on all the fundamentals of the game is the team that's going to continue to win.
You don't have the number of plays, but the ones you have to be able to be efficient at.
Exactly.
You got to be good. You can't make mistakes. You don't have as many, but the ones you have to know how to get it done. And if
Correct.
you do that, then you can have a realm of success and you can be a contributor.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Well, who wants to finish it off, Brian? I don't know if you or Eulish have a question, but I do have one for to kind of round out this segment, if you don't mind. Coach, what do you miss and what don't you miss? Maybe that's a too loaded question, but I thought, what do you miss about the game and what don't you miss about the game, if you don't mind us asking?
Okay, that's pretty easy for me. What I don't miss are so many of the changes that they made, because a lot of it because about Roger Goodell told me one time. He said, "Mike, you're the last one that could complain. We've been making these changes because of you." He said, "So the stuff you did was killing people. So quit complaining." And so that I don't miss, because I love the innovation, and I love being able to do so many different things. I mean, now you line up a kickoff coverage team, you just run down the field. I mean, I'm 74. I could run down now at the touchback. Give me a break. I just run down the damn field. But when I did it, we had 1,000 guys going everywhere. That was exciting. So that's what I don't miss. What I do miss, there's nothing like it, and you can't buy it. You have to earn it. Coming out of that tunnel on Sunday, in front of that 80,000 people, I don't care who you are. There's nothing like it. And if you have a viable part of it, whether you're a player like you guys were players and you're coming out, or as I did I went to. I tried to be a player. I was about 25 minutes at camp. I didn't make it very long, but maybe 30. Anyway, but you come out of that tunnel, there's nothing like it. It's the greatest thrill in the world. And you look around, and you only get it if you earn it. You don't buy your way in. You have to earn it. And that's what I miss the most, because that was really something.
All right, as we wind down here, we're gonna get going to our Where's Will segment pretty soon here. But first off, we want to thank Mike for coming on, and please go check out his book, Figure It Out. Available everywhere for pre-order right now. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, correct?
Yes. Thank you very much.
And you're more than welcome to stay on if you'd like, Coach.
I'm gonna run, guys. I'm gonna run. I've got a few things I'm gonna try to do, but I appreciate your time and thank you for having me. You had great questions, and I'm grateful for it. So it was a lot of fun for me. So thanks, guys.
Love having you on.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. Good luck. Keep going. Keep going. You guys are doing a good job. You got a hell of a show. Thanks again. Okay. Good night.
Well, I think we'll go to the break. We'll go to the break, and we'll come back. We'll find out where's Will and Superfan from Ohio State University.
Just a little tidbit.
Yeah. So with Nick, what I've seen from him is probably his biggest superpower is his ability to adapt. And what I mean by that, I've seen great coaches, come up with programs and they can win. They win championships and they have a style that is successful. And that doesn't mean though that you're going to continue to be successful, because if you understand football, people know the NFL is a copycat league, right?
Well, football is really copycat if you think about it. And everybody looks at the NFL and it kind of trickles on down to the lower levels, lower divisions, college, high school, middle school, little leagues, and on. Now it's crazy though. The development went from the 7-on-7s and 5-on-5s. It's constant.
All right. Welcome back. Will, how are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine, thanks. How are you folks?
Excellent.
Not doing too bad. I heard you brought a third wheel on the Stein and Gary show, Dave Stevens. Looking forward to seeing some of our boy Dave Stevens on that.
Yeah. Dave is an absolute legend, and with him being a 7-time Emmy winner, he wanted to be a co-host with us. It's like, if I said no, I'd be a complete moron. So it's like, all right, let's do this. Let's have some fun. So anywho, yeah, the Gary and Stevens show, it should be a lot of fun, but having a legend like Dave join our platform, and I look forward to it.
Well, we're excited. We can't wait to tune in. Question: where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with?
Well, right now I'm at my house. I was at the golf course today. I made some putts. I hit some great shots, hit some bad shots, hit some horrible shots. Almost hit a dead squirrel in the middle of the fairway, but that's a whole nother story for another day.
So will there be anybody joining us at Buckeye Red?
Hello, guys.
There he is.
Can you see me?
Oh, yeah, we see that Buckeye Red loud and clear.
Hurting my eyes. It's hurting my eyes.
So this is my Ohio State superfan friend Robert, and that's going to be my next destination, is going to Ohio.
The shoe.
And yeah, so with him being an Ohio State superfan, let's talk about Ohio State, and some of the stuff that happens at Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Well, certainly, I think when you start talking about Ohio, we would all be remiss if we didn't call it the Ohio State University. I know Ulish is probably ready to do a backflip and crawl out of his skin being a Spartan. And we got a Michigan Wolverine in the background, but I think
oh boy!
But we know that when it comes to football in Ohio, Ohio has been one of the legendary states of bringing out that iron. Some of these offensive linemen, who can forget Archie Griffin, who can forget, Maurice Clarett in his freshman year in 2000. I believe it was 2 or 3.
Orlando Pace.
There's been a lot of legends. One of my personal favorites that come out of the shoe was Antoine Winfield. I couldn't believe how hard that man could hit at his size.
Hey, I loved them up in Minnesota too, so it was great to see Antoine up close in Minnesota. Stevie was a teammate of his for like a year.
Yeah, we called him Tron.
Ironically, we kept him from going and flying to the Jets to get an offer that year that we signed him. We kept him in Minneapolis. We took him out to eat. We took him to soul food restaurants. We literally distracted him for almost 6 hours so that we could get the funds together, all the legalities and all the contract work. So I almost felt like we kidnapped Antoine Winfield. We did. The word that came down for Mike Tice was, "Do not let him leave without signing." That was it.
Wow. Hey, thank you, Mike Tice, for doing that, because he was loved by many up here in Minnesota. I'm sure I can speak for my Viking superfan friends up here too. So thank you to Coach price for making that move.
Let's talk about our super fan tonight from Ohio State. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Thank you for inviting me on the show. And Will,
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm honored. We all had a little fun getting to know each other the other day. You know, I'm a gentleman, I'm a pro, but I also like to have a little bit of fun too. And sir, I do appreciate what you said about Ohio State and some of the great players that come out. I mean, I'm 46. I know you're a little bit older than me, and some of the players that come out of Ohio State, I mean, I barely remember. I remember seeing them, but Chris Carter, obviously, Keith Byers, obviously Orlando. I grew up in the 90s. I was in high school in the 90s when that North used to ruin so many great Buckeye teams. I don't want to get into that right now, but that's another story. But, I mean, Eddie George, Teddy Glenn, David Boston, Mike. Hey, you mentioned Antoine Winfield. You ever remember Mike Doss, Sean Springs?
Oh, I remember Mike Doss.
Sean Springs. Hey, the Silver Bullets for a reason, my friend. You know, they still Chris Gamble. Obviously Okuda now. You got Sheriff Conley now. You got
you stop dropping names. You're making me Michigan dudes uncomfortable.
I want to think back for a minute because my all-time favorite Buckeye, Jack Tatum, the assassin.
The assassin, yes. I was born in '76, so I wasn't really alive to see him play. Or I mean, I've seen the stories in the film. But yes, they called him the assassin for a reason.
I met the man at the Hall of Fame for the National Football Foundation in 2000. I believe it was 3. He was inducted. I want to let you know he still scared me.
Whoa!
The handshake, the eyes, the intimidation. I mean, it was one of the more surreal experiences meeting Jack Tatum.
I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've heard stories. I've never got a chance to watch him play, but it pretty much sounds similar to what I've heard about him being intimidating. Just what he did to Franco Harris on that immaculate reception. He hit him so hard, he like fell backwards, like just stoned him. I'm like, I see the highlight, I see it at full speed, like shit. But yeah,
time out. I don't want to go too far into Ohio.
Oh yeah, right.
Legend and folklore. That's just me because I'm SEC, so I don't have any real bad blood with you at all. These two do. I don't. I'm sorry.
Right.
Be clear.
Mizzou's cool, man. Mizzou's cool. Great school, Brad.
Yeah, we just had some. I ain't gonna talk about them. They wasn't pretty. That's it. They happened.
We owned them, so it's all good. We owned them, so it's all good.
The thing we want to discuss for sure is
who's your daddy?
Kind of sliding into some of the NIL that Ohio State got more NIL bills than anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that part is true. Yes, that part is true.
107.
That's what's going on.
117 deals. They lead the nation.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
That's a full roster. That's the full roster, isn't it?
117. They got the Water Boy on payroll.
Well. See, here's the thing, though. Now, I want to make myself clear here. I'm not too qualified to really talk a whole lot about NIL, as I'm still learning some of the ins and outs of it myself and learning what can be done, what can't be done. I will say this, though, is that Ohio State has, I think, the 3rd highest budget in college football after Alabama and Texas in terms of money that the program brings in football-wise each year. And I think that is helping fuel all these NIL deals. So I'm just trying to what I perceive, not as an expert on it, on what I know. I just want to make that very clear. I do think, though, that NIL, there needs to be some sort of independent commission set up to control it and stuff, or at least, like, I would say regulate it, but definitely, like, keep it in check, because if it goes unchecked and no one provides a form of proverbial checks and balances, this could be a real problem.
I mean, Robert,
the war pledge is the greed and revelations. Go get him, bro. He just opened it up for you to talk about this independent council.
So Robert, my perception and kind of our view long term is we believe that the NIL is just an hors d'oeuvre, if you will. The real meat and potatoes is collective bargaining and compensation, not NIL. There was an article that came out. Matter of fact, I think it might have been the Cleveland Times or the Columbus Dispatch, one of those papers.
Columbus Dispatch, probably.
Yeah, and they highlighted the fact that what these players are worth, ranging from $200,000 all the way up to $650,000 a year as a 5-star player. And so, at the end of the day, I fully believe that in order to regulate this, the universities have to pony up. And so, right now, what they're doing is the NCAA, everybody's taking their hands off the steering wheel, and they're kind of letting the kids drive the Ferrari right now. And they're waiting for something bad to happen. They're waiting for something bad to happen. And when it happens, they're going to try to snatch it back and say, "Ha! See, we told you. You didn't. You. They couldn't handle it because they're kids." But I fully believe that anything that needs to be done, it can be done if they band together. They don't want to band together because that revenue has always been there. Steve always alludes to. It's now going to the players. And so, if the universities take on a player compensation approach versus this NIL thing, because this NIL thing it's the wild. That's why we call it the wild, wild west of the NIL, because it's like anybody could, throw their hat in the ring. But if it's controlled from an employer-employee relationship on the compensation side, as it pertains to the university and the players, now the NIL is kind of like a marketing deal, a real marketing deal. But you still, as a player, you got to adhere to the rules and regulations of your team first and foremost before your NIL deal. Because if you can't play, ain't no need to market you, right?
Correct. And what you said, sir, I completely agree with 100%. I feel NIL is just a step below just basically professional amateurism at this point. It's like barely touching that border right there where it just barely skirts. Basically, you're paying them as a pro, but they're still amateur and stuff. And you brought up a very good point about it being the hors d'oeuvre for the main course. Right. Question is, what is the main course, and how is it going to ultimately be controlled, regulated, or whatever? And I'll say this real quick. I hate to bring up the SEC for a second, but I've been in SEC country for a while in terms of like traveling and seeing things. The mentality and the attitude down there is just so different because you got big programs like Alabama, Florida, you got Texas, you got LSU, and mind you, you got Oklahoma and Texas coming into the SEC in 3 years. They got more money than almost all programs in the SEC put together. And just to think how much they could use their clout. I mean, you already got the top player in the top recruit in the country, Arch Manning, that committed to Texas. That's huge. And like, how am I bringing it back to NIL? Is that I feel that's really going to really test the limits and boundaries of what NIL is. Can you imagine the deal he would get playing at Texas, let alone he's already at Manning? He's going to be playing at one of the largest, if not, I've been down in Austin a couple times. I've been on the campus. It is the largest undergrad school in the country. Okay. And football is huge in Texas. So I'm saying this from my perspective of being down there. Imagine what he could get as an NIL deal. It's really going to push the boundaries of it to a whole different stratosphere.
Well, see, that's the thing. And it's the kind of getting into 2 points. First of all, Texas has the biggest endowment of anybody in football.
Thank you. Biggest endowment. Thank you.
13.1 billion.
Yeah, billion with a B.
Billion.
Yeah. We live in the Ivy Town.
So to what Book's saying, they don't want to have to touch that money to give to players.
Right.
But in essence, the hors d'oeuvre that they're serving on the NIL is to see how happy we're going to be with that hors d'oeuvre when the real deal is you got to tap that well. Because how many?
So you think they're pulling the backdoor move on us, basically?
Yeah. So they're going to go ahead, like you said, have us drive this Ferrari, wreck it, and then say, see, that's why y'all can't do this. So it's kind of getting to that whole fold of, okay, we got to get to collective bargaining, but it's not going to happen in one just fell swoop. It's got to be a step-by-step process, but it has to be built. And the thing is there's a roadmap, which is called the NFL, with their whole process of collective bargaining and how they built it. Cut, copy, paste. Don't invent this stuff. Now that's leads to the critical reason why you're an interesting person, because even though none of us are quote unquote professional NIL people, that's because we haven't made it up yet. So that's what we're doing, is we're making it up as we're going along. So what we're going to need is people's perspectives, such as yours, coming from Ohio State, in that you're not just a diehard fan, you're engaged in a lot of the affairs that go on with Ohio State. And that's why it's intriguing to talk about Ohio State. They got all these deals on the table that they've just done, but they've always had great players play there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty damn sure they weren't getting, they didn't come for the chips and the letter jackets.
Of course not, no.
Yeah, I'm sure they were coming for other reasons, and it had to be monetarily compensated.
Sir, I will say this, and again, I'm just saying this just to say it. I have heard from third-party people that players at Ohio State, they've gotten benefits like free cars, they've gotten like deals under the table.
Free tattoos.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, free tattoos. Yeah, so I mean, now the fact
they're not the only ones. I want to make that clear too.
Hold on. Robert knows about the free tattoos.
I would love Ohio State to get that win they had over Arkansas back in the Sugar Bowl that was vacated because of the tattoos. That would be cool. But that's another story. Neither here, neither there. But yeah, I mean, we can't just retroactively give Reggie Bush his Heisman back. We want to talk about NIL deals now.
Thank you. Give Reggie his Heisman back.
Only fair.
I think, Robert, at the end of the day, I think what we're bringing to the table and, the subject matter, you have a sweet spot being an Ohio State Buckeyes super fan and your platform, because we're going to get to that collective bargaining, whether they like it or not. We're going to get there. Think about this. CJ Stroud went out and got him a Bentley deal, right?
Yep.
Now, listen, Columbus is nice, but there's some places in Columbus that you wouldn't walk down the alley by yourself.
No, you wouldn't. No, Columbus is bad, man. Outside of maybe inner city Columbus, outskirts is pretty bad. I've been to Columbus a few times, and I'm actually about to drop a bomb on everybody here right now. I'm about to say this right now. As much as I travel, as many places I've been to, I've never actually been to the Horseshoe for an actual game in person.
Oh, what?
Wow.
Well, hey, like I said, I'm saying that as a fact, and the reason why is because you have no idea how hard it is to get tickets to an Ohio State game, unless you know an alumni or you know someone who knows someone. Getting tickets to Buckeye games is almost near impossible.
Yeah, that blows too for the average fan. I think there should always be some kind of, like almost like a lottery.
Standing room.
The average ticket to a game at the Horseshoe for a game, just our average ticket starts at $350. That's average.
Yeah. And they shouldn't be paying the players. Come on, man. And they shouldn't be paying the players. Get out of here.
I know. I mean, I'm hoping to get a chance to cover and attend my first ever Buckeye game in Columbus ever. Because years ago, Ohio State played Northwestern at the old Cleveland Stadium. I was a sophomore in high school, 1992. That was the only time I've seen the Buckeyes play in person. I know, long time ago. I know. But hey, I'm honest about it. Like I said, I'm a super fan because I'm a family alum. I have family that went to Ohio State. I was brought up on the Buckeyes. Love them and also love UCF too. But it's just like, my blood is scarlet and gray and a little bit of black pill for UCF. So,
all right, with that, we gotta let Will go. I know Will's got to get back to some of his obligations. So, Robert, you're more than welcome to stay on with us and continue this conversation. Will, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Will. Yeah, I'm more than happy to stay on, guys. I'm loving this. And I really do feel that, again, us having this conversation and talking about NIL and how it needs to be managed and regulated, that's something that needs to be brought out to the masses. That's something that many other media platforms are doing. That's something that we need to address.
Well, that's the whole purpose of why we're coming together, because what we want to do is give the voice to the voiceless, and that the media is covered by the people who pay for it.
Right.
But it's there to just program us to just follow it. And it's like, wait a minute, what you're saying doesn't make any sense. And I just want it to make sense. And they're so far away from honor and integrity when they talk about this stuff that's why we felt the need to come out and put this together, because it's like, hey, we just need people to have a sober conversation about what's really on the table. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, I remember, you know, they have always tried to, you know, kind of make us ashamed of, oh, well, this kid's getting money. It's like, you know what? He deserves the money. It's like, what is he doing? You know, and then I talk all the time about Tebow's and the guys that literally turned their university around. They didn't get anything. You know, the pat on the back and, you know, a couple bags from the bowl game took them to, and that's it. And it's like, hell, that kid deserves millions.
I know. And you know what's funny is that the universities have been profiting off of the name, image, and likeness of players for over 100 years. And the fact that players are finally beginning to get a cut, I feel that's more than fair. They just have to do it in a fair and respectful manner, which the players get a fair share. They're not just being exploited as glorified cattle or whatever, and they are treated, you know, obviously with respect. They still got to be held accountable to a standard, classes, curriculum, etc., grades. But the players, they deserve to be paid. They deserve to be compensated for all they do for the university. The fact that we see their highlights on TV all the time, we see their image everywhere, but they don't get a cut of it or percentage of it. No, they need to be paid. It's just that, again, the whole system needs to be properly managed and regulated.
We actually had that fight 2013, 14, was it, Rev, when the NFL Films
That's right. Had started going with the name, image, likeness, and you guys getting compensated within the collective bargaining.
Yeah, and then what they did in the NFL is they threw it into benefits packages, and that's when they came out with the 88 plan and
2011 was the last one.
Okay, a couple of these other plans, which basically, if you're not dying, you don't get it.
Right.
Which is still something to argue about in the NFL, but at least the money was put away in some kind of a fund so that if you did need it and it was, you know, you had a need, you could get those funds for you. And so I don't want to see that happen to college. I don't want kids to have to be on their deathbed to get this money.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, if you go out here and contribute, and the biggest thing I'm saying is healthcare. You know, the bottom line, you know, I know guys that have had hip replacements, knee replacements, that play college ball, and with the NFL will cover that stuff, but you got to file your claims and stuff, but at least they'll give you the funds for that, but they don't do that for college athletes.
They don't. No.
And
Hey,
that's the tragedy that's got to change.
I'm sorry. I think I brought this up before when we first started talking the other day, but this brings back one of the little subplots from the HBO series Ballers that talks about players and The Rock managing them as a financial manager, his character. There are a lot of interesting subplots that were covered in that series. CTE, marijuana use, and also players getting their cut and stuff. I remember Ricky Jarrett or some other character was talking about how he was in college. He took some money under the table to help him get through school and stuff. So this goes way, way, way back. And again, I will say it again, players deserve to be paid, but it's got to be managed properly. And also players nowadays, they need to have their own form of representation to deal with shady agents or people trying to get money on them or trying to like lead them the wrong way. Financial management, that's key too.
But that's why they let it out.
You need to have a hold of your money and your outlook and everybody around you, rather than going and saying, oh, he's got a great idea, I'm going to follow him. It's about giving the athlete, the student athlete, the resources so they can stand on their own feet, and that everybody that's coming at them with their hand out or with, hey, you should do this deal or sign this deal, that you've got a core group of people around them saying, you don't need to sign that. Maybe you need to, you know, move away or bifurcate from that relationship with that shoe guy. And we don't have enough of that in sport. And I think what we're trying to do is allow this thing to coalesce. We know that it's being set up by the NCAA for failure. We also know that if we give people the right tools and they can stand on their own, they don't need the NCAA. They don't need a lawyer. They can stand on their own volition, speaking for themselves and their name, image, and likeness, and stand firm on what they want as far as their deal. And that deal should have some short-term as well as some long-term, so that these guys aren't outspending or outkicking their coverage with their finances and they're broke 3-4 years later.
But that's why they put it out there like this, so that we can wreck the car, so that when we, like Book says, when we're, it's a total disaster. You just ruin the high-priced car. It's like, I don't need the Ferrari. I'm cool with a F-150. I'm cool getting what I need to just get through this, and then I'll buy my Ferrari. So,
right. Well, I'm a non-driver, so I do get the analogy and stuff. Personally, I'd be more of a Lambo guy or a Maserati. Personally,
my big ass ain't getting into none of that shit, so I don't care what you say.
I'm just trying to be funny, guys. I'm just trying to keep it.
All right, with that, we're going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to come back with life in the NIL.
All right. I'm with you 100%, but that's the purpose of what we're trying to do, to bring us together to start talking the conversation, so we make the conversation healthy. Look, we don't want all these agents and people that are just in here pariah just to feed off of the young when they come in. We don't want that. We want it so that, look, I got my sons, you got your kids that are going through this process. I don't want them to run into this thing and get chewed up like a buzz in the buzzsaw that happened to us when we came out of college. Because when you walk in the NFL, at least if you're 22, you got a chance. But when you're 18, holy hell. I couldn't even imagine having $500,000, 50,000, 20,000 going in. I lived off of $300 a month, and $200 was rent. So I couldn't even imagine having that kind of money that early in my career. Would be unbelievable to do this without some support. So we want to kind of put together this forum so we can have it, so that we can put people at every school that can kind of mentor. It's the alumni that's going to do it, because the alumni cares. They care about the school. I'm mad at the NCAA for what it's worth. I was mad when I was in college trying to, buy diapers for my son, and I go to Target and they got a jersey on sale, number 98. It didn't have my name on it, but everybody in Columbia knew who the hell number 98 was.
And that's the thing. We know it's a long time coming, and not just D1 guys, because if you play D2 or D3, you can take advantage of this as well. I want to stress that there is a lot of good things happening out there, and just because I'm a D3 student or a D2 athlete doesn't mean I can't work my butt off and get these NILs as well. That's, you look at the summit, I'm going to hopefully have on the king of the NIL and D3, as he calls himself, and the king in Norfolk State. He had 66 NIL deals because he worked. And you know what? I'm going to hire a guy like that because he worked his butt off. He's not a 5-star athlete. He's a Norfolk State. Threw his name out there, got many, many denials, and boom. Yep, that's the guy right there with Kareem Smith. He actually won an award at the NIL, so we'll hopefully get him on at some point. But going back now, we kind of digress with this, and that's the way I got to hurt.
Welcome back, and this is kind of what we do with the Simple Plays. We talk about NIL and life in the NIL, and I guess off with let's talk about Jaden Rashida. He just, from the quarterback from Miami, he just signed a $9.5 million deal, but he turned down an $11 million deal from Florida. What do you think? Go ahead, Steve.
Who did he sign with?
Miami.
Good Lord. Like I said, to me, they're gonna take all the elite 5-star superstar players, and they're building literally dissension in the locker room, walking in the door. It was the same thing in the 80s with the quarterback club in the NFL. The quarterback club was the only quote unquote kind of union, but it wasn't union. It was just the franchise guys that the teams identified. So you had guys coming to work, doing the same job. The quarterback's got a Ferrari, and everybody else got to work. Can't come to practice till they get off work. That's what's going to happen, and they're going to build dissension and it's going to cause all kinds of chaos. That's what they want because it works. And that's where we got to interrupt. And that's why we like talking about like an Ohio State who's, let's be real, been paying guys before NIL.
Oh, yeah.
So now NIL brings it to the surface. So that's kind of where that dialogue needs to happen. And I throw it to you, Rob, on just, what do you think about where that's going? And will it be able to, is there, Ohio State, in my opinion, will start the roadmap because they're always ahead of everybody else anyway. Your thoughts?
I wouldn't quite say we're always ahead, but Ohio State's always been at the forefront of pioneering a lot of things. And that I read up on the story, and I did see the story about Rashida signing with Miami and basically leaving an extra $2 million on the table at Florida. From what I read of the article is that he wanted to be in Miami because of the lifestyle and stuff. And I just came back from Miami, and yes, that lifestyle is very addicting and stuff. But it can also lead to a lot of off the field stuff too. That he's got to be real careful for because Miami is infamous.
South Beach ain't no joke.
South Beach ain't no joke. That's right. College and Ocean on the weekend, man. It'll suck you in, and then you got to worry about.
I'm telling you,
and you know what's exactly. So he chose Miami because of South Beach. That's the real reason why he wanted to be out there partying with his Instagram friends, doing some shit on TikTok. And I tell you what, in this age of social media, if he does anything bad or inappropriate or something like that, it's gonna be a problem, especially in South Beach too. So, not to say I think he made a bad decision, but it's the new era we live in. Now
he got 9.5 million reasons why he gonna jack it up. Trust me. 18 years old with 10 million. Listen, I was 21 with 5 or 10 grand getting signed as a free agent to Atlanta and almost jacked it up as a grown man. He's a kid.
I was 26 when I went to Miami.
In Miami?
I was 26 when I went to South Beach.
Where's he from?
They ruined my life.
I think he's from outside of Miami somewhere. I think he's from like
Florida, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what part exactly, but I got lots of friends.
Juniper to having a fat crib in Coral Gables.
Oh, Coral Gables is lovely, man. Coral Gables is very lovely.
Well, again, he gonna hit South Beach, and his 10 million will look like 25 cents.
We all have. It's okay. Hey, just make sure you keep it straight when you get on the field because you can't bring that South Beach flair.
Hey, Steve, his spiral gonna become a knuckleball.
Probably, man. He'll be busy going in and out of those clubs and stuff, chasing those Instagram spots all over, all over the beach.
But hold on, though. See, once he's known to be at Miami, they're gonna chase him.
Oh yeah.
And then that's the problem, because he's not gonna know how to say. He's gonna have to come up with creative ways to say no, and they're gonna be them. These I don't want to call them, but predators. Let me put it like that. These predators, they're on a mission, and they will hunt your ass down. If you sitting there standing there regular, you will get eaten.
That's right.
They will tear you apart.
They're vicious.
I'm telling you.
Miami's full of sharks, man. Miami's full of sharks. Got to learn to play.
And the worst ones got big booties and big titties.
Oh no!
Hey, that's Miami on the daily, man. What you
I'm telling look, I wasn't there but a weekend. I'm telling you, there's 3 cities I said I could never play in. New York. I played in New York, but I couldn't have did it as a rookie. I wouldn't have made it.
Right.
Atlanta and Miami. Miami is the worst because that South Beach. Whatever, if you ain't got all your senses together,
get your faculties.
Because
nobody does it 22 years old. Nobody's got it all tightened down at 22.
I'm sorry, I was 26 and I was lost.
Hey, best example of Miami. Watch Any Given Sunday with Jamie Foxx. That's Miami in a nutshell, right there.
Pretty much. Well,
yeah, pretty much.
Saw cars in half. Yes.
Well, there was another side I saw.
Billy Beeman.
And I'm just saying, it's like, hey, but if look, a lot of guys go to Miami, a lot of guys come out and they're successful. Hopefully he can manage it. I wish him the best. If he's from Florida, he should hopefully be able to manage it. Playing at your state school, because you got to think about at what millions is enough. You're 18.
True.
Hell, 5 was good. So
Steve, the one thing that he got going against him is the Miami we all know was a Paul Tagliabue era. This Miami that they're creating is a Roger Goodell era, which means with Paul Tagliabue, everything stayed indoors. With Roger Goodell, he invited the media in, and now they got these little things right here. You get it like live. You can go live. Okay, so he's 18 years old. He ain't got enough savviness and shrewdness to protect himself because why? He's a kid. Okay.
Well, he's from California.
Don't you know we can see you?
Right.
He gonna need a very strong entourage to handle him, man, because Miami is very demanding in terms of like the afterlife, the party life. People staying out till 4 a.m. and stuff, and then you got to deal with football, the pressure, and if he plays well on the field, his draft stock's gonna jump up, which means that there's gonna be more pressure on him to want to perform well, but also got to worry about the Instagram, TikTok society, and don't get me started on TikTok on that stuff, man. I can't stand it. But we live in the age of TikTok now. Everybody's doing it 24/7. If he's caught on film or tape doing something inappropriate, believe me, how much you want to bet NFL GMs will be following him and be like, what's this about? What happened? And again, it goes back to like this. He's going to need a good marketing team, someone to keep him grounded. He's going to need a tight entourage to help him keep things tight.
Well, the cats I know that played at Miami, they were from Florida. They knew and they were culturalized. They had a good, even though Florida cheated their asses off paying people from day one, their culture as a team, they took care of one another. So hopefully that still exists, and hopefully that's what happens for them.
Steve. These kids, listen, these kids are growing up in a everybody get a trophy society. We came up, we were like the end of the Bear Bryant, hardcore. You don't need no water. It's 100 degrees outside. That's we came in on the tail end of that. So
this generation, basically, this generation is what we grew up in.
Right. And so at the end of the day, these kids are not built that way. Now they're elite athletes. They learn how to play outside of their body, but when it comes to resisting and making the right choices, hell, we barely did it. So imagine with these kids, they got less spankings, okay? They got less.
No fights. No fights.
They fight Twitter beef. They fight with these.
They fight TikTok and stuff.
Yeah. So listen, I wish him the best. I wish him no ill will. But think about it. He from Florida. He got $9 million.
No, he's from California.
Are you from California?
Troy saying he's from California.
Oh man.
Okay.
Listen, now he coming to a whole other part of the country. He probably can't even understand the Floridians' vernacular and how they talk. And so he don't even know he's gonna get robbed.
It's about to be La Bamba. It's about to be La Bamba. That's South Florida's La Vida Loca. It is absolutely. Right. I don't even consider Miami actually a part of our country. It has such a Haitian Latino influence. It's beautiful. But these people don't go to bed at the same time we do.
Get around there, man. Like I'm learning my Spanish now because I'm going back down there for swim week and photographing models.
See, you ain't coming back.
Dude, I'll be down for a week.
Super bad.
Yeah, I know.
You, Rob.
I just got back from filming my first fitness event and stuff. My lady friend, she won Miss Bikini Pro, got her pro model. She's back in Romania now. But I'm flying back down there again to do swim week. And yes, Miami is special. All right.
You ain't coming back.
We gotta get Big Mac on. Mac got counsel folks.
I know. I gotta get
Big Mac got counsel people.
All right, guys, we're gonna start winding down and go to final thoughts. Why don't we start? We haven't heard a ton from Book tonight. Book, why don't you start with your final thoughts?
Hey man, first of all, thank Coach Westhoff for coming on and sharing his stories. And he was just a throwback and a reminder of the era of which me and Steve and Rev, which we come from. He was a strong representation of, hey, figure it out, And so, contrary to that, the Simple Playz is here to help you figure it out when it comes to this NIL stuff. And mainly, more importantly, player compensation. We're strong proponents of that. And once again, I can't say it enough. We got a good group of guys that understand what needs to happen in the direction this needs to go in. And once again, parents, if you're out there, you have people or players that are going through this process, don't be afraid to make sure you have the right people around you. There's no such thing as a dumb question in that regard. Once again, also, Rob, thanks, Rob, for coming on as a super fan. I didn't know we could get along so well. Well, actually, let me clear the record. Michigan State and Ohio State, we really don't. We're not beefed out like that.
No, we're not. No.
When it comes to that other school down the road,
yeah,
then okay, whole other ball game. At the end of the day, and so. Thank Rob for coming on as a super fan. Here we go.
Get that Pulverine off my screen, man. Seriously.
Hey man, we're doing final thoughts, Zach. It's okay. It's all right. It's all good.
Hey, do I see a Michigan championship? That's all I gotta say. Hey, bro, real quick, big man. Hold on. When's the last time Michigan won a national title? I'm curious, like an actual national title. Yeah, that's what I thought. Moving on. That's it.
When was the last time Ohio State won the Big Ten championship? Not this year.
Yeah, not this year.
Not this year.
Yeah,
Michigan State didn't win it.
A one-off.
Michigan did. Hey, you see the bottom left corner? Bottom left corner.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
All right. Yeah. Why don't we hear from our guests? What are your final thoughts, Robert? Thank you so much for coming on, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yes. I would love to come back on. And my final thoughts is that we all family here. We all will give each other a little bit of beef, a little bit of joking, but it's all in love and stuff. And I have a lot of friends from Michigan, so I know how to talk to and deal with Spartans and Wolverines alike. So I'm cool with it. I do want to say, though, this is fun. I'm glad to be a part of it. I'll be glad to be a part of it going forward. Again, I feel NIL is something that needs to be talked about and discussed further. And we continue to push the platform on my magazine as well as through your podcast and stuff. I really enjoyed it. Let's keep the conversation going, gentlemen.
All right. Thank you so much. Inscriber Magazine founder, Mr. Robert D. Cobb.
Thank you guys very much. And I know that up north is coming out of Columbus this year. We gotta reestablish, control of the Big Ten, because we know the Big Ten runs through Ohio, so it's okay. Y'all got your one-off here. I mean, hey, we have to give you a break, man. I mean, we've already beat you like 10 out of 12 times.
Otherwise, it's child abuse.
Yeah, I know exactly. We beat you more than a redhead stepchild, man. So you can have it, okay? Oh, you got that ring, right? Okay, Ohio State, I think, has like 6 of them and 3 national titles in this century.
Yeah, but you sold all yours.
We sold all of ours. Still got more than you, man. Come on now.
All right, guys. Let's go to Steve. Let's get your final thoughts, sir.
I love it. Rob, by all means, we love having you. It's great to have you on board. Mike Westhoff, thank you so much. I mean, he brought back, he brought an angle of that year, which was a very trying year. But I didn't realize, I knew he was a great coach when I was there, but just hearing all the stuff that he did, he reminded me of how great he really was. He's still a great man. So thanks, Mike, for coming on. And sharing your stories with us. By all means, everyone get out and get that book. I'll try to read it. I'm not going to promise because I'm not a reader. That's just not what I do. But you know what? To read what Mike's stories are, it's a very interesting thing to do. So by all means, I certainly appreciate Mike coming on. And the big thing, again, is the constant what we're trying to do and what this means. So please, if you're watching this, go ahead and sign up and join our groups, and let's start forming groups at each of these universities. And it's fantastic that we have such big schools, but one of the things Sid pushes for is a Division II and Division III. We're not helping everybody, because from what the communities I'm talking to and everybody I'm speaking with, they're signing every kid's getting paid now. But now we got to, help people manage it. And it's not about us, being big brother, because that's ultimately what the NCAA has been. But we definitely want to be that brother that helps. And that's the main thing, is that we want to be there to help folks, just set them in the right direction and get them where they need to go. So yeah, just go to the site and go to the page and just click the sign up button and just fill out your information, and we'll find you to the right group to start things forming, so everybody can start participating and being a part of it. And you don't have to be an expert. You just have to have the love and passion for your school and want things to be right for kids going into it. And a lot of folks, they've conditioned us not to help people who got money, because that's what the thing I was shocked in when I got in the NFL of, it seemed like nobody was there to help you. And they said they were, but they never really did.
Right.
They basically that you were on your own. And that's part of Mike's books, Figure It Out. That's literally what you had to do. And each individual has to figure it out for himself. It's like, it's no problem to help somebody just because he's got $30 million. I don't have to get a lion's share of that. I don't have to have that. I'm just going to spread goodwill, because I don't want to see you get done wrong. And I hope that you would do it for my kids or whoever in your line of life, because good energy is the key to life.
Hey, question real quick. I'm reading ESPN right now. It says wide receiver Jonte Cook II, latest to commit to Texas. He's the ESPN top 100 wide receiver.
If they got Manny, they better win. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
They better win.
The first of many that will come because Arch is in Texas.
Yeah, I can see like a lot of players just like funneling to Texas now too.
I wonder if they're going to run the football in Texas anymore.
Well, you got a running quarterback that can throw. Only the nephew of Peyton and Eli. So and I know, man, Texas is gonna be a problem in 4 or 5 years, man. A major problem.
All right, Rev, let's hear your final thoughts, sir.
Thoughts are real simple. I'm going to piggyback on what Book said and what Steve said and what our guest tonight said. Really what we're here about at the Simple Playz is not to be our brother's keeper. We're not here to keep anybody. We're here to free people. We want to be our brother's brother and our sister's brother. And we want to be able to do that in a way that allows you integrity. It allows you to be able to make decisions that are well-rounded, that are intentional, that have good counsel. And not only that, but also be very adaptable to the fact that not everybody's going to do it the same way. All we're saying is we want to give you the available tools to make you, to put you in the best position to be successful. That's why I say we want to be our brother's brother instead of our brother's keeper, because a keeper has a negative connotation, and a real brother is nothing but a second set of hands to help you when you need it, as well as to clap and every once in a while, put a foot to that backside and say, hey, you need to buck up. It's time to get going. Be our brother's brother. That's what Simple Playz is. That's where we're going with the Wild Wild West of the NIL.
God bless you. Well said, sir. Well said.
Perfect. I just want to, again, thank everybody for watching. Want to thank Mike Westhoff. Check out Figure It Out. Go pre-order it on Amazon. Any major retail stores for books here. I got it straight from the publisher. You can also do that as well. I want to thank all our pro hosts, Rev, our producers, Zach, Will, I want to thank Robert for coming on and giving us his side of the story. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.